Carlos Alcaraz has made a clear and firm decision before the most anticipated clash of the US Open, to face Novak Djokovic with confidence and absolute control of his game. The Mercian, world number 2, not only arrives at the semifinals without dropping a set, but also assures that right now I have everything under control. With a smile on court, feeling comfortable and enjoying every shot, Alcaraz approaches one of the most important matches of his career with a mindset that puts him at the center of all attention. After sweeping aside Yuri Lehecka in the quarterfinals, Alcaraz left no doubt about his form. He won in straight sets, dominating the match and wearing down his opponent physically with constant attacks. But what stood out the most was the serenity with which he spoke at the press conference. "I feel very comfortable heading into the next rounds. I've surely played my best match at the US Open. I'm hitting the ball really well. Physically very well," he said, confirming that he finds himself in the best possible place before facing the Serbian. The most important decision Alcaraz has made is not about tactics, but mentality. Instead of obsessing over Djokovic, he has chosen to focus on himself, on his tennis and on the sensations that come with it. "I have everything under control. I have a lot of calm and confidence going into the semifinal," he said with certainty. This choice reflects a degree of maturity that even his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero, has underlined as one of the major differences in this tournament compared to others. The Mercian does not hide the fact that he feels in peak form. Each match has demanded something different, and he has been able to adapt with solvency, without giving up ground or a single set. That ability to respond firmly to what each match requires is proof that his confidence is no coincidence, but rather the result of constant and well-focused work. In this sense, the decision to focus on his own game and not on Djokovic's is part of that mental evolution that distinguishes him at this US Open. The goal is clear: to conquer his second title in New York. He already achieved it in 2022, but now history repeats itself with an even more demanding path. First he will have to overcome the greatest in history, Novak Djokovic, and then, if everything goes as expected, face Jannik Sinner in the final. Alcaraz knows this, but he doesn't get overwhelmed. "Focus on myself and how I'm going," he repeats as a mantra, convinced that his current tennis is enough to compete with anyone. Another crucial aspect is the atmosphere. Alcaraz appears smiling, enjoying himself on court, and that is key to his tennis. When he plays relaxed, confident and joyful, his level rises exponentially. That positive attitude, beyond technique or tactics, is the real engine that can make the difference against Djokovic, a rival accustomed to the toughest stages. Finally, the very fact of having won Roland Garros this year gives him an extra boost of confidence. He already knows what it means to win in 2025 and wants to repeat it in New York. The combination of mental maturity, physical freshness and personal motivation makes Alcaraz a formidable opponent, ready to prove that he is prepared to defeat Djokovic once again in a Grand Slam semifinal. Beyond his mentality, one key detail surrounding the match is the decision on the schedule for the semifinal. At the US Open, playing by day or at night can completely change the dynamics of the match. In broad daylight, the ball bounces higher, takes more spin and favors Alcaraz's varied and explosive game. At night, however, the ball is slower, the bounce less lively, and those conditions benefit Djokovic, who usually prefers that setting. Ferrero made it clear: "I think playing at night benefits Djokovic, because his flat game adapts better when the ball doesn't take so much height. That is why the Mercians team is campaigning for the match to be played during the day." In addition, if the duel ends earlier, Alcaraz would have more time to recover for a hypothetical final. That management of every detail is also part of the mental decision they have made, to think about how to maximize the chances from every possible angle. Although everything suggests that the match will be in the night session, for the rest of the other semifinalists and for commercial reasons, Alcaraz doesn't seem worried. His message remains the same: what matters is his own game, not the schedule. That calmness reflects a leap in maturity compared to other tournaments, where external factors could weigh more in his preparation. Djokovic usually puts pressure to play at night, but Alcaraz trusts that, whatever the scenario, he will be able to impose his tennis. That unshakable confidence is the basis of his most impactful decision, not to obsess over what he cannot control. The Mercian wants to prove that he has the resources to face the Serbian under any circumstances, in sunlight or under the New York floodlights. In this sense, the choice to focus on himself takes on even more value. Instead of letting external circumstances dictate the course, Alcaraz centers himself on his confidence, his serve, his strokes and the high pace he can impose from the first point. That mental clarity is what keeps him serene, prepared and convinced that he has the tools necessary to overcome Djokovic. In the end, Alcaraz's decision before the match is not a tactical move or a schedule preference, but a conviction: To face the challenge with calmness, with everything under control, and with the determination to enjoy the moment. At just 22 years old, he shows that his mental evolution is up to the level of his talent and that he is ready to write another great page in tennis history. Juan Carlos Ferrero, coach and mentor of Carlos Alcaraz, has given one of the most revealing statements before the semifinal of the US Open 2025. According to the Valencian, the Mercian is better than ever mentally, combining maturity, consistency and confidence in his tennis like never before in his career. Ferrero highlights that this tournament has marked a leap, not only because he reached the semifinals without dropping a set, but because his emotional strength is making the difference. Ferrero is clear. It was always known that Alcaraz was an extraordinary talent from a technical standpoint, but what impresses the most in this US Open is his mental solidity. I'm seeing him better than ever, in terms of concentration and solidity, he said. The constant work to avoid ups and downs is beginning to pay off, and the result is a much more consistent player, ready to face the most demanding moments on court. That emotional maturity is, according to him, what is making the great difference. In this tournament, Alcaraz has shown an almost impeccable level. Committing barely 5, 6 or 7 unforced errors per set is an indicator of discipline and control, something rarely seen in players his age. For Ferrero, this confirms that his pupil is finding the ideal balance between aggressiveness and precision. That ability to minimize mistakes in high-level matches is what puts him in a privileged position against any rival, even Novak Djokovic. The coach also stressed that Alcaraz has improved in every aspect of his game. He has matured a lot, the serve and the forehand are also much better, he explained. While the natural talent was always there, the progression in these 3 years has been evident. Ferrero even joked that if a player doesn't improve in that time, the coach would be very bad. But in this case, the evolution has been total, confirming that the Mercian is on his way to reaching his maximum potential. One of the key points has been the serve. Ferrero admitted that the serve is at a very high level, thanks to small adjustments and constant work. The arm is very loose, the hand too, and when you get free points with the serve that generates confidence, he explained. This weapon will be fundamental against players like Djokovic or Sinner, who rarely give anything away and force you to make the most of every advantage. Alcaraz's solid serve can be the decisive factor in the toughest matches. Ferrero also valued the importance of mental freshness. After a demanding schedule between Roland Garros and Wimbledon, rest was key. These are necessary vacations, which help him reset his mind and return with a high mental level, he stressed. This break seems to have given Alcaraz the energy needed to face the American swing with confidence and joy, something reflected in his impeccable performance at this US Open. On the match against Djokovic, Ferrero was cautious. He acknowledged that facing the greatest in history doesn't allow for talk of favoritism, although he praised his pupil's current state. He is playing spectacular tennis and with a lot of confidence, but against Novak being the favorite are big words, he said. The message is clear, they know the enormous challenge of facing the Serbian, but they also trust in Alcaraz's ability to rise to the occasion. Tactical preparation is another of the strong points Ferrero underlined. He explained that they would especially train the return of Djokovic's second serve, one of the keys to trying to unsettle him. He also noted that from the baseline the Serbian is very solid on both sides, so Alcaraz will need to rely on his cruising speed to open spaces and wear him down physically. In a best-of-5 match, fatigue after 3 hours is noticeable, and their Carlos can have a small advantage, he indicated. The coach recalled that after the Wimbledon final, the team had a positive discussion to analyze what happened and set out a plan for improvement. That reflection paid off in the American Tour, where Alcaraz arrived fresher and with clear ideas. For Ferrero, that ability to learn from setbacks and turn them into motivation is proof of the Mercian's constant growth, who continues to mature despite his young age. Comparing with his early years, Ferrero highlights that the biggest difference is how Alcaraz faces tough moments. Before, he could have ups and downs, but now he knows that it's precisely then when he must show his best level. His running forehand, his more solid serve and his maturity on court make him a much more complete player. That evolution, according to Ferrero, is a natural step on his path to the top of world tennis. Ferrero has no doubt in pointing out that Djokovic still has a clear advantage, his experience. The Serbian knows how to manage every situation, when to change pace and how to handle pressure in key moments. To counter that, Alcaraz's team works on having several game plans and being prepared to adapt. Novak maintains a very high level throughout the match. We have to be ready for any plan he throws at us, the coach explained. The match schedule is also a factor to consider. Ferrero believes that playing during the day can favor his pupil more, as the conditions of heat and ball bounce benefit his explosive style. At night, However, the court is slower and the ball bounces less, something that benefits Djokovic's flat game. This detail, although it may seem minor, can make a significant difference in the development of the match. In short, Ferrero considers that Alcaraz is not yet unbeatable, but he is at the best moment of his career so far. His mentality, his physical freshness, the improvement of his serve and his consistency make him a fearsome rival. The coach sums it up in a clear phrase: he is better than ever mentally. That is the real leap that makes him ready for a new challenge against Djokovic.